I'm sorry if this is a bit scattered and some details are missing. This is all very fresh to me, and English isn't my first language. Let me give you some background. My wife and I started dating at 20 in 1994, got married at 25, had our kids at 27 and 29. We were best friends and partners for 27 years. Our kids are now in college. My in-laws practically became a second family. My brother and sister-in-law treated me like a sibling, and their parents did the same. I joked that I should have changed my last name. 2 weeks ago, everything fell apart. My sister-in-law called to tell me my wife had been having an affair with a coworker for the past 5 months. It was a shock, as I hadn't noticed any signs. My world crumbled. I confronted my wife when she came home, and I asked her to leave. I haven't seen her since. Our children are unaware, and I'm struggling. I haven't gone to therapy, can't eat or sleep well, and I'm constantly upset. What should I do? Seek divorce, save the marriage, or contact my wife? I'd like to thank everyone for reading my post and offering their advice. Here's a quick update on where I am now. My brother came over last night after I informed my family about the situation the morning after I found out. It took him a while to arrange time off from work, but he's here to support me. My parents are devastated. Following Sassoon's suggestion, I reviewed the texts my wife has sent since D-Day. They all express her love for me, apologies, and pleas for forgiveness. I'm still unsure how to interpret this. If she means it, why did she betray me? My children are unaware, but they'll be home from college soon. I'm unsure how to break the news to them, and it's a difficult situation. Today, I have a therapy appointment and plan to schedule a doctor's visit and consult a divorce lawyer. I'm not certain about divorce, but it's wise to be prepared. Once again, thank you all for your time and valuable advice. I just got back from my therapy session, and things are still confusing. My therapist, although not experienced in dealing with adultery trauma, has referred me to someone who is. I'll schedule an appointment with them. In the meantime, he's given me some advice on the next steps. He advised me to quit drinking and start exercising. He also suggested taking my time before confronting my wife in person, ensuring I'm emotionally prepared for it. To answer some questions I've received, my wife's affair partner is not married. He started working with her last year, and he's only 23, barely older than our daughter. My sister-in-law caught them holding hands at the mall and confronted her. This morning, I sent my wife a text outlining my expectations if reconciliation is even a possibility. I asked for STI tests, for her to end the relationship with the affair partner and cease all contact, and for her to be completely honest about everything they did together. I haven't heard back from her yet. I'm currently contemplating whether I should go to her parents' house to confront her and hear what she has to say. I wasn't present when my sister-in-law confronted my wife, so I don't have all the details, but here's what she told me. My sister-in-law saw my wife and her affair partner at the mall. She confronted my wife on the spot, but didn't get any answers beyond "he's a friend," which she didn't believe. She shared the incident with my brother-in-law, and together they confronted my wife at our house. It took both of them pressing her for answers before she finally broke down in tears and confessed to them what she later told me. She begged them not to tell me, but they insisted on it. They came to my house the following week to deliver the news. I wonder if my wife didn't anticipate them exposing her. Part of me hopes she was gathering the courage to tell me herself, but I realize that's unlikely. It seems she was truly entangled in this situation. My wife has responded to my text in which I made various demands, including a written timeline, access to all her devices and social media, no contact with her affair partner, STI screening, and quitting her job. Surprisingly, she agreed to everything. Nevertheless, I still intend to consult with a few attorneys, just as a precaution. Her parents are already aware of the situation. They found out the same day I did. She's currently staying with them. I'm uncertain about whether to confirm her written timeline with a polygraph test. I've heard they can be unreliable, and I'm not even sure where to find one in my area. I'm not in the U.S., and I must admit that I'm completely unaware of my own country's and state's divorce laws. This is one of the reasons why I'm planning to consult with an attorney. Yesterday was the first time I saw my wife in person since D-Day. After work, my brother and I visited her at her parents' house where she's staying. It wasn't easy to be around her, but following advice from this community, I felt there were important things to discuss face-to-face rather than through text and calls. When she saw me, she burst into tears and tried to hug me, but I stopped her, expressing that I didn't want physical contact. She seemed hurt. She kept saying how much she regretted her mistake, how she loved me, and that her affair was just sex. I called her out on her excuses and told her I wasn't there to hear them. I informed her I would be consulting a divorce attorney next week to understand my options. Then, I reiterated the steps she needed to take for any chance of reconciliation. She sent a no-contact message to her affair partner, shared her social media passwords, handed over her phone for me to check texts, and allowed me to take it home to look for deleted messages. Being around her was tough. I had to resist the urge to yell at her every time she spoke. If it weren't for my brother and mother-in-law being present, I might have done more than just shut her down. Regarding my own healing, I've quit drinking, started exercising with my brother in the mornings, and have been reading extensively. Food still isn't very appealing, but I'm eating more than I was last week. Just a quick update, my wife dropped off her written timeline of events from the day she met her affair partner. I haven't had the courage to read it thoroughly yet, I've only skimmed it. Reading the first few pages filled my head with vivid images of them together. I found a place nearby where we can get a polygraph test done. I plan to schedule a date for both of us to take the test and confront her with the timeline. If she passes the test, I'm considering allowing her to return to the house but not sharing the same room. I'll give it a few months to evaluate whether reconciliation is a viable option. I've also gone through her phone messages and social media, which was difficult and made me feel sick. I noticed she sent a no-contact message to her affair partner on D-Day, in addition to the one I had her send yesterday, so yesterday's message was more of a reinforcement. I used some programs to check for deleted messages but didn't find any. However, I'm not tech-savvy, so I'll ask her during the polygraph test if she deleted any messages. I've been tested for STDs and am waiting for the results. At this moment, my emotions are all over the place, like an emotional pinball. One moment, I'm in tears, the next, I'm seething with anger, and then I can carry on with my day as if nothing's wrong. When I don't have something to keep my mind busy, those images of them together flood my thoughts. It's like they say, an empty mind is the devil's workshop. Today marks 3 weeks since D-Day. I've consulted with a few divorce attorneys, and now I understand my options if I choose to pursue a divorce. In Brazil, if adultery is the grounds for divorce, the adulterous spouse loses the right to alimony, which shouldn't be a major concern for me. Asset division can vary depending on how a couple was married here. My wife and I have a full separation of goods in marriage, meaning everything we own is either mine or hers. So, in case of divorce, it's clear who gets what. The house is registered in my name, so she wouldn't have a claim to it. The divorce process can take different paths, and the duration depends on how my wife reacts to it, ranging from a week to 2 years. Apart from divorce, I could also consider suing my wife and her affair partner for moral damages. I'm still uncertain about the path I want to take, but at least I'm aware of my options now. Regarding my daughter, she's coming home today. She doesn't know about her mother's affair yet, but I've texted her, explaining that her mother is staying at her grandparents' house due to something that happened, and I want to discuss it in person. I've been advised to undergo a polygraph test, and I've found a place nearby that offers them. However, I've read online about their unreliability, pseudoscience claims, and inadmissibility in court. It's making me second-guess the polygraph. I trust the advice given here, but I'm looking for reassurance that it's the right step to take. The past 2 days have been the most challenging since D-Day. Both my daughter and son now know about their mother's affair. My daughter, who returned from college first, attempted to contact her mother, but all she got was that she did something horrible. When my daughter arrived, we had a heart-to-heart, and I explained everything I knew, her mother's affair with a coworker much younger, and how her siblings had to inform me about it. She was as shocked as I was on the day we found out. We held each other and cried. She asked me what I wanted to do, and I admitted I wasn't sure yet. I mentioned speaking with a divorce attorney but needing time to figure out the next steps. My son came home yesterday, and I think he took the news even harder than his sister. I sat him down and explained everything similarly to how I did with his sister. He erupted in anger, yelling and using hurtful words to describe his mother. It hurt more than I expected. I don't want my children to lose their mother, despite her actions. I told him he had every right to be angry but requested he refrain from such language in the future. As of today, both kids are staying at home with me, helping out around the house. My wife has tried to contact them, but they've ignored her calls, and she hasn't pushed further. I desperately want my family back. I want to express my gratitude for all the kind words and advice I've received. The past month has been the toughest of my life, and the support I've found here has been invaluable. I've been going for morning jogs in my neighborhood before work, started eating regular meals again, and begun seeing a new therapist. While I miss my old therapist and the connection we had, the new one has been tremendously helpful in helping me navigate these emotions. My daughter visited her mother, still harboring anger but not wanting to sever contact. My son appears to be the most deeply affected. He's frustrated with me for not filing for divorce, wants nothing to do with his mother, and has expressed strong negative feelings. He's posted hurtful things about her on social media and been aggressive toward his sister. I've urged him to remove those posts and reminded him that his sister isn't responsible for their mother's choices. However, he believes my therapist is influencing me negatively, and he insists that a real man would have divorced her already. It's difficult to accept this new behavior, wondering if it's solely a reaction to the shock of discovery or something that was always there. I never expected my son to become this person. Regarding my relationship with my wife, tomorrow, I plan to visit her and have her read the timeline she's written in my presence. I also have a polygraph test scheduled for next Saturday. I'm still considering my options, and I believe these next 2 steps will help me make a decision. My son's use of offensive language when referring to women, including his sister, is deeply troubling. His anger towards his mother is understandable, and I would never deny his right to be hurt. However, directing his anger towards other women who are not connected to this situation, or in the case of my daughter, equally victimized by my wife's infidelity, is inappropriate. I also don't share the view that there is a lack of morals in society now. In my perspective, as long as actions are consensual and don't harm anyone, they are acceptable between consenting adults. My son is legally an adult now, and I cannot force him to do anything. Still, I plan to encourage him to seek individual counseling along with me and his sister. I will also firmly address any instances where he displays disrespect towards me or women. Thank you for your concern, Masty. I haven't posted updates in the last few days because there haven't been many developments. I'm still attending therapy and jogging every morning. Sometimes, it's a struggle to keep intrusive thoughts and dark emotions at bay, but I'm in a better place now compared to the days immediately following D-Day. We've undergone STI tests, and fortunately, everything came back negative, which is one less worry. I'm still uncertain about the path forward. My wife has started therapy, and we have a polygraph test scheduled for tomorrow, which might help me make a decision. I've prepared some questions to ask her during the polygraph test, and I'd appreciate input from this community to ensure I cover everything necessary and exclude any irrelevant questions. 1. Have you been completely honest with me since I found out about your affair? 2. Is the timeline you've written a complete and truthful account of events? 3. Have you had any other affairs during our marriage? 4. Did you delete any emails or messages on your phone or social media between you and your affair partner that I haven't seen? I apologize for the delay in posting an update. There was a family emergency unrelated to everything that's been going on that demanded my attention. On Saturday, I picked up my wife from her parents' house. During the ride, we didn't talk much, but her discomfort was evident in her body language. When we arrived at the polygraph examiner's office and were waiting, she asked if I was sure about going through with it. I affirmed my decision. She was connected to the machine for about 20 minutes and answered no to every question I had. Afterward, I drove her back to her parents' house, and again, there wasn't much conversation during the ride. I was too exhausted to revisit our discussions about her timeline. She did ask me what I wanted to do, and I honestly admitted that I didn't know yet. The results arrived on Monday, indicating that she was truthful. I thought this would help me make a decision, but I'm still struggling. I'm uncertain about whether to give our marriage a chance or proceed with a divorce. I yearn for our old life, but her actions have caused me so much pain. It's been nearly a month since my last update, and I sense that this one might not be what some were hoping for. Both of my kids have returned to college, and the house is empty now. My daughter is trying to mend her relationship with her mother, while my son wants nothing to do with her. Following Chamomile Tea's advice, I've been meeting with my wife weekly to track her progress. She's still attending therapy to understand why she did what she did. She claims she doesn't know, but I have doubts about that. She spent 6 months in an affair, and that's a substantial amount of time for something you're uncertain about. However, there was a positive surprise. Her therapist recommended she read Not Just Friends by Shirley Glass. We've discussed the book, and it seems like she's making some progress, but time will tell. Now, here's the part that might disappoint some. I did allow her to come back home. Yesterday was the first night since D-Day that she stayed here. However, I've made it crystal clear that this doesn't signify a start to reconciliation. She's sleeping in a spare bedroom, and our interactions have mostly revolved around regular household chores and when I request access to her devices, which she has complied with every time without complaint. Currently, we're more like roommates than a couple. We'll see how things unfold. I had an interesting conversation with my WW this morning during breakfast. I'm unsure if I should post about it here or create a thread in another forum. We discussed why she had an affair and her feelings during that time. She explained that she justified the affair by seeking intimacy she felt was lacking at home. However, she now realizes she wasn't putting in the effort at home. In the months leading up to her affair, she became focused on her job and spent her free time with friends, leaving little time for me. She admitted that she was self-absorbed and wrongly saw the drop in intimacy as my fault. She apologized, took full responsibility for her choices, and acknowledged that even if it were my fault, she should have communicated before seeking gratification outside our marriage. I'm not sure how to interpret all of this, but for now, I wanted to share it with others. I've noticed she started doing chores around the house that she knows I always disliked. I'm unsure if it's a conscious effort on her part or whether it's genuine or a form of manipulation. But that's a minor issue. She's mentioned more than once that I can talk to her if I need to. I've sat down with her multiple times to express how I felt upon discovering the affair, what those 2 months apart were like, and my thoughts about any future with her. Each time, she's patiently listened and offered an apology. At the moment, I'm not certain there's much more she could do that I would be receptive to. Last night, while watching TV on the couch, she tried to get closer to me. I told her I wasn't ready for that level of closeness right now, and she respected my boundaries. I want to explain my absence from here lately. While this site has been a valuable resource, reading through these stories started to take a toll on my mental health. The saying "an empty mind is the devil's workshop" rang true for me, as reading about others' struggles began to do more harm than good. So, I took some time off to focus on my well-being, and in the meantime, other things have happened that demanded my attention. In my last post, my wife had moved back into the house, but we were living more as roommates. My daughter was trying to rebuild her relationship with her, while my son wanted nothing to do with her and was acting out. Since then, I've made the decision to attempt reconciliation with her. My wife is still in therapy, and we've started marriage counseling. Our counselor is also my individual therapist, who has been a tremendous help throughout this ordeal. My daughter is still in contact with her mother, but our son remains distant. Thankfully, he has stopped with the misogynistic behavior. The affair partner attempted to contact my wife through a letter, which she showed to me, unopened. We decided to discard it, and she briefly unblocked him on her phone to inform him not to contact her before blocking him again. I still have access to all of her electronic devices, although I haven't checked them in a couple of months. Today was meant to be our 23rd wedding anniversary, and my wife wanted to celebrate. I must admit I got angry and said hurtful things. After what she put me through, it doesn't feel right to celebrate, especially considering this was around the time of her affair. She apologized, but I could see the hurt in her eyes as she looked at me. We haven't discussed it further since our argument. I apologize if this post seems scattered. I'm still somewhat triggered by the idea of celebrating